na 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 na. Yeah. Oh yeah yeah yeah. Oh yeah yeah yeah. Yeah. Got a nigga going psycho. Yeah. I'm too smooth with it like Michael. Hey, niggas can't keep up. Got 'em Uzi like NyQuil. The best in the league. Damn, I'm so vital. Vital. Oh man, my flow's too wavy. These industry niggas too shady. Always kept my head held high. Stayed away from fakes, they aiming. Pass the swisher, I'm getting richer. That shit killer, I'm blessed. Yes, I'm that nigga. I'm the bigger picture. Better fingers up to these niggas. Talking down on my name. It's gonna bring more fame to a nigga. They praying on my downfall, but I ain't going downfall. I ain't no competition. I'm never switching up on my religion. I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why. Look in the skies, look in the skies, look in the skies. They too damn bitter, why they hating?
Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Balance Podcast, keeping it real, keeping it fresh, keeping it current. And I want to say that I have a great show in store for you today. We'll have a guest join us later on to discuss a myriad of hot topics going on right now. And we'll also be featuring two musical guests. The first was Richard Lindo, who you just heard. He's 19 years old, passion for music. The song is called Psycho. Unfortunately, I couldn't play the whole thing, but if you love it, you can follow him on Instagram. His ad is at L.Richard, and Richard has two D's at the end. So he covers other songs, and you can find him on there, find more music, and he's also on SoundCloud. And we'll also be featuring a song at the very end of the show, so please do not tune in when I say bye. Thank y'all for listening. There will be Jamaica, and I've featured her at least 4 or 5 times already on the show. Music is great. I love her, and she'll be releasing an EP really soon. So yeah, stay tuned. So yeah, I have a really great show in store, but we're going to start out with a few things. Today is April 15th. This episode will not be released for your ears until tomorrow. But I want to go ahead and say rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. This actually would have been his 34th birthday, but obviously and unfortunately he's not here to celebrate it. So we just want to say thank you for what you were doing, and rest in peace. Happy heavenly birthday. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into the news for today. So there's been a lot of talk, especially with the women's soccer team, about equality in terms of women's sports and everything like that. And I do want to point out that I get what people are saying. You do need to watch before you want to shout for equality. Like, you can't be fighting but then not doing your part. You know, you need to watch the WNBA. You need to watch women's soccer, all of that. But anyway, speaking of the WNBA, so they will now be featured in 2K, which is great. I think it's important. I think they should have been featured. Like, NBA is one thing. Like, yeah, you have the women's league, and yeah, you have the men's league, but there was no reason to keep them separate, you know, because as we know, separate is not equal. Also, speaking of the NBA, so they are now implementing a policy where each team must have a licensed mental health professional on staff. I cannot express how happy I am to hear that and how important it is. Like, you all know that I'm very pro mental health, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, self-love, self-care, seeing therapists, taking meds if necessary, all of that. So, and it's just very important, especially with black people who of course make up the bulk of like a lot of sports, that our mental health is taken seriously. Like, there's an episode of Grownish where they touch on how, you know, they love profiting off of black bodies but they don't care about black minds, and they were talking about how, you know, they didn't want to fund, you know, get an extra counselor on staff in the black dorm on Grownish. So anyway, great episode. But anyway, like he said, black minds matter, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves mentally, just like we focus on taking care of ourselves physically. So while you in the gym and, you know, bulking up, getting thick, whatever you're doing, or, you know, while you're doing your yoga and caring about what you put into your body, which is very important. All of this is very important, but make sure that you're taking care of your mind, making sure that you're taking time out specifically for that, because yes, healthy body can definitely create a healthy mind, but it's also more to that, you know. So yeah, this is very exciting news, and I'm so happy that is happening, and hopefully more sports, you know, leagues will be incorporating this. And I mean, even not just for black people, but, you know, for everyone. It's very, very important to look out for your mental health. I cannot stress it enough, because if you wait too long, it'll be too late. You have to be proactive and not reactive. So anyway, yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with our guest. Hey everybody, we're back, and I am joined by a very special guest. She's been on the show before, but I want to welcome her back and thank her for being on the show again. So hey girl, introduce yourself to everybody and just your ad, anything like
Hi, my name is Adiria, but I go by Nubian Rocks on Twitter. I'm super happy to be back and chat with you today.
that. Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for joining us. So we have a bunch of topics that we're going to discuss together for y'all, and we're going to start with Jay Z. So he's in the news right now, of course, for signing this deal with the NFL. And basically,
hmm
from what we gather, he's supposed to be leading a social justice initiative with the NFL, and he's also supposed to be co-producing the Super Bowl. And it's been drawing a lot of, as you can guess, criticism on social media, with some people believing that, he's betrayed the movement, he's betrayed Colin Kaepernick, he's betrayed his people, that he's selling out and everything like that. And for me, I'm very 50-50 on it. Like, if you're looking from a business perspective, like business wise, money move wise, great decision. Like, he's about to add to that net worth. And many people are saying there's whispers that this is just the first step, not necessarily in him trying to do social justice work, but more so in him trying to become an owner. But of course, like, it takes a lot of money. And even though he's like a billionaire, he still needs more. But anyway,
hmm
yeah, so this will be adding to it. I'm 50-50 on it. Like, from that perspective, I'm like, I get it. It makes sense. But I do feel like, I mean, like, he was talking so much shit about like the NFL and the Super Bowl. Like, everybody's quoting that.
hmm
No, like I said, no to the Super Bowl. You need me. I don't need you. And it's like, okay. And then he was telling other artists, yo, don't perform at the Super Bowl. Like, but then you turn around and you're over here making deals with them. So it's just real, sketchy from that perspective. And if he's truly, I don't trust the NFL. That's the definite main thing for me. I don't trust them. I
Yeah.
don't attention. They're obviously trying to rebrand. They're obviously just trying to look good for optics' sake. So are they really about this deal? They're actually gonna do something social justice wise? I don't know. And unless Jay Z got that locked in for sure in his contract, like that they can't find a loophole in it, then I mean, but I'm just 50-50 on it. So what are your thoughts?
I think that personally, I don't really care about the business side of it because Jay Z has money. It's not like he doesn't have any money. I don't think. Well, this could be a business move, but it's just to what extent? Like, how many more business moves do you need to make a sacrifice to prove a point? And I
Mhm.
don't think this is a point that's worth making a business deal for because, again, if it just seems kind of two faced, because if you supported this man, supported Colin Kaepernick for this long,
Mhm.
and been so against the NFL and being a part of a lot of other celebrities who were boycotting the NFL, to come back and say, well, I'm going to do this social justice like piece, that doesn't, I don't, does that really kind of change the laws and the understanding of how they're going about
Mhm.
um, the bigger issue, which is protecting and giving NFL players a voice to make a statement, for the NFL
Mhm.
when it comes to racial injustices. So for Colin Kaepernick's situation, I've heard he's saying that he's talked to him, but then his girlfriend said he didn't talk to him.
Mhm.
So we're not really sure if he did or didn't. And if anything, I think the biggest thing that we would have liked to see, if Jay Z has all this pull and all this money, is get Colin Kaepernick back to the NFL. I think that's what we kind of want, and
Mhm.
that's not what he did. Or even, I think giving Colin Kaepernick that position to do that social justice work for the NFL and to make some like legal changes when it comes to their policies, when it comes to the way that players choose to respond to the national anthem.
Mhm.
And so I don't think his move was the best. I mean, that's just me. I don't think that was the best move because it kind of looks like he shot the rest of us in the foot. It's kind of like backstab, at the end because it's like you're profiting off of this, and it's not really needed because you already have money. So what are you really doing? Like, what is your motive behind this? So I know I'm gonna wait for it more interviews to see what he says.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I think if I was calling Kaepernick, I would just kind of be like, "What are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
how is this really making a statement?"
Yeah, and I agree with you, Deria. Like, for me, like, I was just like taking notes on things that you were saying, and like for me, like you were saying, like he's supposed to be rocking with like Colin, and like he's supposed to be like so down for the cause and everything like that. And then
hmm
we're talking about like the phone call thing. So from what I read, he called him, but it was after he had already signed the deal, after everything was
Mm.
Yeah, so he called him all right, but it was like right before it dropped in the news, like, hey, this is what already happened. It's done. I'm just giving you a heads up because it's about to hit the news. Like, it wasn't a let me talk with you and get your stance kind of thing, or let me talk with you, see how you feel about it, or what other things I could do to make this deal really worth what you lost. Like,
Or can we collaborate on something?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but then again, I just think sometimes I understand it's hard being a celebrity and trying to do social justice work because people are so critical of every move that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And we may not know like completely what this move and him being the social justice advocate for the NFL really means.
Mm-hmm.
And because at the end of the day, sometimes when we think about social justice movements and working in the community and being an activist, like we should not be profiting off of
Mm-hmm.
that movement because at the end of the day, we are making adjustments, claiming or reclaiming spaces for marginalized people.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFL is not a company that is for marginalized people. It's not a company that operates for marginalized people because people are getting checks, very large checks at that.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the players are Black, are they really being taken care of?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like trying to figure out what this social justice piece really means to the NFL because the only person that's really it's affecting who's taking this big loss is Colin Kaepernick, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
So are other players getting suspended because they're taking a knee? And now if that's the case, or they're losing money, or you know what I'm saying, they're being disenfranchised because of that, okay. But this is not a company that's just I don't want to say they're not oppressing, but just the typical actively oppression that we're seeing because at the end of the day, the players are getting large sums of money for participating in this business.
Yeah.
So what steps, like what does this social justice piece mean? Like what does that even mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now
And
if we're looking at other I'm sorry to cut you off, but if we're looking at companies like Walmart or something like that, we're looking for fair wages or things like that, understandable.
mm-hmm.
But we're looking at a multi-billion-dollar company like the NFL,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and this is making them money. Like you were saying, the whole profit thing that shouldn't happen. It's just, I don't know. That's something for me because I also get to say like just wait and see how it turns out. But also, like you said, like I'm just right now from how it looks, just in these beginning stages, it doesn't look that good. Like he didn't even speak with
Mm-hmm.
after it was all said and done, and also allegedly because we don't know the full terms of Cohen's settlement with the NFL, but
Mm-hmm.
the whole social justice piece, he started that with the Inspired Change thing that they have going on. That was part of his alleged part of his settlement with them. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just really agree that he should have been included in some way. If he's not going to be allowed to play in the NFL, which it absolutely seems like it's going to be the case, he should be included in something like this. And so with Jay exiting him out and the NFL exiting him out, like it's just, I don't know, it's just not it. But,
Yeah.
just wait and see kind of thing. So just kind of moving on to another kind of celeb thing that's going on in terms of like, I guess the world of beef. Like, so Trina, her A&R person, spoke out against Nicki, blaming Nicki Minaj for low album sales and not, yeah, not promoting like the whole album or the song that they did together, BAP. So for me, I mean, I can't speak to it. I mean, it's a feature, and as Trina did on her live last night, Nicki did it for free. Like she just that's all
Mm-hmm.
because Nicki can charge a lot of money for a feature, and so for her to do it as a favor, for that, like I have my everybody knows I have my opinions on Nicki right now where she is in life, but for that, like I just don't like yes, like her fiance, future baby daddy, husband, whatever, a whole mess. Um, but yeah, for me, I just don't feel like it should have blown up in the way it did. And like Trina said in her live, nobody needs to speak for Trina except for her. She's a grown woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Yeah, I
outspoken.
watched that this morning.
Yeah, she can speak for herself. So I don't know. I'm not gonna fault Nicki for this one. I'll fault her for plenty other things, but for this one, I'm not gonna fault her because I mean, like again, like she had her feature. People said that on Queen Radio she had the song looping, so it was there. It was getting that advertisement there, and
Okay.
yeah, it falls on Trina and her people. Like this is your song. Like Nicki can only do so much. Like this is what Trina pays her people for. This is what Trina is here for to promote her own stuff. So, and I appreciate Trina taking the high road and not trying to throw Nicki under the bus and rightfully so, calling out like, her people because that can ruin future relationships. If her A&R people is over here slandering Nikki, like that's not looking good for a future relationship because they're like, oh well, I'm not gonna get the same treatment. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think from her live, I think Trina, I mean, I like her because she's very mature. She's very business savvy, and she understands that it was a bad business deal. She didn't beat around the bush. She didn't blame, and she didn't even blame or call out the people specifically.
Mhm.
She took blame for herself, which is always something that is good when it comes to being a business partner, or just being in, the music industry and understanding when things happen, like if that is your brand, if Trina is her brand, like that's who she is, like all of that. And the fact that she's taking accountability for the mistakes that her A&R team made, I think that's really, really good.
Mhm.
Um, because we don't know who, some people aren't mature enough to handle situations like that appropriately. And I
Mhm.
think she did a really good job with that. And just understanding that, just plain and simple, it was a bad business deal. She needs to make sure that, people who are in her camp are, not speaking for her, like she said,
Mhm.
and doing the necessary things to either get the music out, get the music video out, make those connections, and make them professional. And I think she was very professional, um, even though she did cuss here and there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think she was professional
Yeah.
in the way that she addressed that, and very humble, as well.
Mhm.
And just straight up, I don't got no beef with Nikki. Like we are cool. Like I just don't. She definitely probably. I just would love to hear the conversation that she's having with some people who was talking about, their opinions about Nikki and how they felt like, she needed to do X, Y, and Z to promote this song. And it's just like, I would love to hear that conversation. I
Mhm.
really would.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree too. And I know, just kind of shifting to another popular topic on the timeline. Unfortunately, popular in the wrong way. So Illinois is basically implementing LGBTQ history courses in school to be taught. And of course, it's gathered a lot of responses, and a lot of them are negative, and a lot of them are ignorant. And so for me personally, I see nothing wrong with it being taught in schools. Like people are acting like I said on Twitter, people are acting like they're gonna have like chapter 13 about scissoring and like talking about bottoming and topping and like
Right.
it's not that's not what they're going for here. And I think also it's because Black people see you know Blackness as one thing and LGBTQ is another thing. Where guess what? There are Black people who are also part of that community. That intersectionality is missing. Um,
Mhm.
and again, there's nothing wrong with teaching the history. And someone on Twitter said to me like, awareness is all we need. Like we don't need to teach it in school; they just need awareness. Da, da, da. But I'm like, what is awareness
Yeah.
if you don't have the background to support it? It's nothing.
Right.
Yeah. So I just kind of want to get your take on this. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this a little bit and just kind of give your opinion, on.
So I'm really big on research.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just from being educated to do your research, to be factual, to have support in any type of argument, discussion, or
Mm-hmm.
just to get clarity on things. I mean, so I seen I didn't see it originally on Shade Room because I blocked them because I think the Shade Room is so toxic.
Oh yeah.
But I seen the post and I seen what really pissed me off about it was just a lot of black lesbian. Well, I saw a black lesbian woman saying that she just thought it was just too much. And so just again, just like you, Timothy, seeing everybody's comments, and just like, well, that's that gay shit, and I don't want to see that. I don't want my kids doing that. Like that's nasty as hell. I'm just like, let me just see what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that it's it's not just so much. Okay, we're going to learn about LGBTQ history from 1 to 2. It's not really like that. It's more of an inclusion bill.
Mm-hmm.
So the governor of Illinois, he created and passed this inclusion bill for the Board of Education for Illinois. And
Mm-hmm.
so pretty much that they are going to highlight, like through history classes, the contributions of LGBTQ folks.
Exactly.
So when we may not have never heard about, let's say, Barbara Smith, who was one of the members of the Columbia Hero Collective, or we don't really know in depth about the life of James Baldwin,
Mhm.
And just even it may even include just how people have organized for LGBTQ rights.
Mhm.
So we're looking at I think it's more of including the history of their movements,
Mhm.
looking closely at certain folks who belong to that community and how they may have added to social justice movements or other components in history. And that may include music, that may, include art, that may include science. It could include so many different things. But I think people's problem with LGBTQ studies or history, or any of those components, is this understanding of just the sexual components, just literally the sex. They're not talking about the lifestyle. They're not talking about how their everyday lives, how they contribute to society.
Mhm.
They're only focused on sex. And this idea or this notion that is being forced upon people. That just, oh, well, if the kid starts learning about James Baldwin, and he's just going to be gay. It's just like, no, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. We've been learning about heterosexual folks,
Mhm.
heterosexual couples, lifestyles, and history for centuries, years. They're still gay people. So make that make sense for me.
Exactly.
And, and I think, again, the battle is, well, people's like, well, we aren't getting Black history, African American history. They're one and the same. Then again, I do not think it's just going to be heavily just, we're going to get LGBTQ history every day. It's still going to be bits and pieces, but again, it's a part of this inclusion and
Mhm.
the way that we are incorporating more of marginalized folks and their experiences in public schools, which is something that we haven't had. So, I mean, if people are going to be mad, then homeschool your kids. They're going
Mhm.
to homeschool them. Pull them out then. If this is bothering you that much. But at the end of the day, if they really want to learn about it, Google is free. Wikipedia is free.
Mhm.
Gay LGBTQ folks are out here in the streets walking around every day. And a
Mhm.
guy got on me. He was like, well, I'm not going to, that's that gay shit. I'm like, well, I'll be so happy to teach your son. He's just like, you're going to get fired for teaching that gay shit. And I'm just like, I'm literally getting my PhD
Mhm.
on that gay shit. If you want to be an idiot, like, people get paid to teach this. So it's not like it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? So people's ignorance is really going to, deprive their child of real knowledge.
Mhm.
And that's just going to be on them.
Mhm. And it's that same level of ignorance. Like, I mean, a lot of people get mad, but there is a comparison to white supremacy and how white people function with racism. They don't like to teach about, Black history and what Black people do. And it's that same type of rhetoric, that
Hmm.
is being used by Black people, especially Black men, when they talk against, like, LGBTQ awareness or history being taught in classes or anything like that. And they don't realize you're spying off the same rhetoric that oppresses you, and you're using that to
Hmm.
oppress others. And you're continuing the
Hmm.
pattern of ignorance that, causes, atrocities to happen. And I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just, yeah.
And I think again, I think the earlier we do insert this knowledge, it
Hmm.
would not be so much of an ignorant issue when they get older, because there are so many folks, who are very ignorant to LGBTQ issues,
Hmm.
and lifestyles. And there's so many stigmas and stereotypes that folks have about LGBTQ folks and even Black LGBTQ folks. And so I think the earlier that, we do get this information, the correct information put out in schools, or just even having these dialogues, you know, to let people know that they're just everyday people. They're not like weird. Like, somebody said something about being like, it's that teaching LGBTQ history is like a form of pedophilia. Doesn't make sense.
Not at all.
Doesn't make sense at all. But I think that when we start to educate our children, at an early stage, and get them to understand, like, what marginalized people go through and what other lifestyles are like, that could help foster, people's understanding of how to be more culturally competent and dealing with people who are from different backgrounds, different cultures, different identities. Because again, we're here and we have Donald Trump as president. I don't
Mm.
know. Again, I don't know how that happened, but he's literally just a walking tower of ignorance,
Yep.
you know. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of Black folks who are ignorant to
Mhm.
the lifestyles of Black LGBTQ folks.
Mhm.
and sometimes erase their struggles and their fight for equality and liberation
Mhm.
because they don't know who they are and what they go through, and also how they have been a part of Black liberation movements for decades,
Mhm.
So I think it's important, you know,
Mhm. And
to
then
educate our folks.
absolutely. And you were talking about like Trump being a walking tower of ignorance, and people don't realize like words mean things. Look at all of the like, domestic terrorism events occurring from, white
Mm-hmm.
supremacists and things like that. It's because of these ignorant words. Like these words, they become thoughts. And from your thoughts, you take
Mm-hmm.
the action. Like words mean things. And, you know, I think I spoke on it before in another episode. People say like, that whole saying like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Words can hurt. In
Mm-hmm.
fact. Like,
Period.
yeah, they can do so much damage. So that's something I want to rid the world of. But no,
Yeah.
thank you like a lot for your perspective on this. And I wanted to talk about one more thing before
Okay.
we wrapped up. So
You're fine.
it was an episode of Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith, and she had brought up Will Smith, and she said he did something super like horrible to her, and people always jump to cheating, and she was like, there are things that are worse than infidelity in a relationship, and some people at first couldn't think what is worse than infidelity in a relationship, and it's like for me, like I'm not saying this is what Will Smith did or anything, but like domestic violence, gaslighting, those types of things are like horrific. They're like some of my hard
Mm-hmm.
no's, and they're worse than infidelity. So, what are some things like, in your opinion, are worse than infidelity?
Um, Abuse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, repetitive infidelity could be some type of form of abuse, like a form of manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, my last two relationships, I wasn't cheated on. They weren't cheaters, but one was very manipulative and one was physically abusive. And I think if I had to pick, I would choose somebody who was cheating on me because I don't want to get beat up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I wouldn't want to choose either one. But I think if anything, abuse is pretty high up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because if anything, if you just really just can't be with one person, we can turn this into some type of polygamy thing or open relationship. We can fix this. Have
Mm-hmm.
your communication. Like if this is really not your thing, you just cannot just keep it at home and you want to be out. We can that can be fixed if that's what your partner wants to do. But I think abuse is a whole nother like demon that really can ruin a relationship. You
Absolutely.
know.
From physical abuse to emotional abuse to financial abuse, and
Mhm.
lately you're talking about educational abuse, and it means just so many different forms, and there's so many different things that are worse than infidelity, like even to a point being selfish and inconsiderate and not listening to your
Mhm.
partner, because
Mhm.
like those things can manifest in certain ways. Like you're not listening to your partner, and let's say you keep getting financial trouble because you won't heed their advice, or you just want to go with what your mind thinks, and you want to be selfish and stuff like that, or put yourself above your family, and that can just lead to catastrophic events for your family, and that's absolutely worse
Mhm.
than cheating. I think it's just so
Mhm.
many levels, and I think, like, I don't know, maybe that's our mind is just so focused on cheating because we believe it's just supposed to be a normal thing. I don't know, like,
Mhm.
I don't know.
I think um I think sometimes we're more prepared for cheating,
Hmm.
because it's like all these shows and the way that we talk about cheating and infidelity, it's like, oh, there's so many ways that I can handle it. I'm gonna go sneak, like me and my girls gonna go figure out what he's doing or hire, a private investigator. Just like so many different ways that we can go about it and potentially solve it. But again, I think when it comes to abuse, people don't know what emotional abuse looks like or financial abuse looks like.
Hmm.
And so again, for the Black community, we don't have those conversations about what therapy looks like when it comes to
Hmm.
dealing with our problems and how they may manifest in our relationships, and it may become abusive, you know. Um, and I also think that even with physical abuse, it's a cycle. I mean, with most abuse, it's always this cycle. It's this loving, beautiful cupcake stage,
Hmm.
and then you start seeing those signs of aggression or manipulation, and then that's when the abuse happens, when they become physical or they gaslight you all the time. or they're selfish and overly inconsiderate of your feelings and are verbally abusive. And then when you're at that breaking point, then that's when they come back and try to apologize. And we go through the same stages consistently. So it's like, oh, well, he said he's not going to do it again. Or again, with the emotional abuse and the verbal abuse, it's so much harder to get out of because you think, well, he's not hitting me or they're not hitting me. It's not the same. And so, like I said, it's just another demon that a lot of folks, Black, white, Asian, struggle to tackle. And then it's very scary. You don't want to tell your friends you're embarrassed. You think it's a lot of the things are your fault because they have blamed you for so many different things. So again, like those are harder situations to kind of pull yourself out of, especially if you have low self-esteem and you have a lot of insecurities where you don't feel like you can be your strongest or your best self without that person.
Absolutely. And again, it just kind of goes back to what we were saying in general. It's just about education. Like you have to educate people on these things, and you have to educate them young so that they don't fall into cycles. They don't fall into these patterns that, while everyone to some degree is susceptible, they don't, fall towards it and stuff like that. So again, education is so important. And, so that's why I'm like, I'm not even going to get into it with the whole LGBTQ thing again, but still, like, people don't realize how important knowledge really is. Like, it's thrown out as a cliche thing, but no, knowledge really is power, because the more you know, the better you can protect your life, your well-being, both physical and mental. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I mean, I think when I become a parent, just to make sure that my kids know the signs, because again, sometimes we think abuse is just something that we see in heterosexual relationships. When it happens in all relationships, there's always that aggressor or the manipulator in a relationship, no matter what the gender or the sex is. And so I think it comes down to just knowing those signs, and being familiar and taking the steps to getting yourself out of those relationships. And even if you are the abuser or the manipulator, like, go get help. The reason that you're doing these things is your own insecurities. You're dealing with your own demons, and you need to manipulate and control every situation, and that's not healthy. And you need to go see somebody and figure out why.
I know I saw a tweet on Twitter, and it was like, yeah, it seems like everybody's in therapy, and it was like, except for the people who cause others to go to therapy.
Right.
I was like, ooh, the tea is scalding. It's hot. Like, it's real. But yeah, I want to thank you so much for.
Oh, no problem.
Like, I feel like this is a very good conversation. I feel like, everybody probably nodding their head going, yes, like, just, like, that's real. So again, I just want to thank you so much.
No problem. I always appreciate coming on here and talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Hey, this episode is sponsored by The Black Detour. The Black Detour is an independent media outlet that advocates for Black people to not only be empowered, but informed on issues of the Black community. They are part of the growing movement in America to empower Black people all across the United States. You can visit their website at theblackdetour.com, and you can also follow them on Twitter at theblackdetour.com. Thanks so much, and let's get started. Yes, so as we wrap up the show for today, I want to thank Adira for appearing on the show. I want to thank our musical guests who allow me to feature their music, from Richard to Jamesa. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone who's tuning in and listening. And in another week and a half, I'll have a brand new episode for you. It'll be featuring more original music and original artists. I'm not going to exactly spill the beans on how I'm going to do it, but just know it's going to be a great episode. So thank you so much for listening. Please stay tuned and do not cut this off. Please, please, please do not cut this off, because I'm going to play a song by Jamesa right after this, and you don't want to miss it. All right. Enjoy and come back next week.
It's code for emergency. You said I can call you whenever I need. Here's the thing. Lately, unbeknownst, you've become all that. Life is such such a blur for me sometimes, and other days I'm blazing. If it don't work, it don't mean it ain't right. Just pay mind to the time and space. And gotta be space. I gotta see how far you will go. Don't make me wait. I'm turning blue and my body to snow. It's code for emergency. You said I can call you whenever I need. Here's the thing. Lately, unbeknownst, you've become on. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out what you say. You're talking this way, and I know you still love me. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out how you play. You're walking away.